In the remote fells of the Lake District, Muncaster Castle is home to the Frost-Pennington family. Muncaster has been in the Pennington family for over 800 years, and Iona and Peter have been joined by their eldest son, Ewan, to guide the castle into the future.
It has literally been frozen in time
Yes.
from 100 years ago. So how can we use it? How can we
Right.
celebrate that heritage, but make it accessible to future generations?
Yeah.
And during my stay, I am given a bird's eye view of a project which has spanned the generations.
We've got a Grade 1 listed building, a medieval castle, England's highest mountain beyond, in this incredible flying arena.
When I married into the British aristocracy, it was the start of a wonderfully exciting journey. But it was also a little daunting. I became a Viscountess, and for an American girl from a small town outside Chicago, that was quite a shock.
I live with my husband Luke, heir to the Earl of Sandwich, and our family at Mapperton House in Dorset.
Living in a place like this is a joy, but also a challenge. And every day we're aware that we're preserving a very special part of Britain's heritage. Mapperton has opened up an extraordinary new world for me, and I can't wait to share it with you all.
So if you love castles and manors and stately homes as much as I do, please join this American Viscountess as I journey into the British countryside in search of some of Britain's finest historic houses. During my visit to Muncaster Castle, I was lucky enough to explore some of the archives, and one letter in particular inspired me.
Dear Sir John Ramsden, thank you for your letter, which I have not answered yet. It appears that Beaufell is safe in your hands, as it would be in the hands of the National Trust. I remain yours sincerely, Beatrice Heelis. Now, I'm sure you know who Beatrice Heelis really is.
Beatrix Potter.
That's Beatrix Potter, and this is from 1926, obviously just around the time the National Trust was being set up, and Beatrix Potter was donating many of her farms, which she'd bought with her proceeds from Peter Rabbit and books like that.
Yes.
And she was instrumental in just exactly what we're trying to do, keep things for the future of generations.
Beatrix Potter loved and helped preserve the landscape and farming traditions of the Lake District.
I realized I probably didn't really dress the part for this. I'm a bit colorful.
Peter and I set out to meet Dennis Purdom, who farms this land and kindly agreed to show me the amazing skill of sheepdog training and gathering in the sheep.
Hello.
Hello there.
Good afternoon, Dennis.
Good afternoon.
It's nice to
A lovely
see
day.
you again.
Yes.
I'd like you to introduce you to Julie.
Julie.
Hello.
Dennis.
So nice to
Yes.
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's
Dennis
nice.
is one of the great local farming families and an expert sheepdog trialist and trainer. So
Well,
Try my best.
I'm very excited.
Yes.
Nervous, but
Yeah.
you know, and I'm worried I'm too bright for the sheep.
No, that'll be fine.
I'll leave you in Dennis'
Right.
capable
Okay,
hands.
great.
And good luck.
Okay, so Dennis, explain to me the role of the sheepdog first and foremost.
Tag, 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 tag. Come on, boy. Well, the rule is to get them, train them to understand all the commands
Okay.
put into them. You know, your away, your come bys, and your stops,
Okay.
and then on voice, and then you go into the whistle.
And you use a whistle.
Yes.
And the point of the sheepdog is to
To fetch the sheep.
fetch the sheep, herd
the
them in.
sheep. Yes, that's
okay
it.
when you need to. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And you have to.
In a controlled manner, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you have been doing this for how long, as far as training sheepdogs?
Well, I used to always have a sheepdog on the dairy farm,
Right.
but 15 years I've been really
Wow.
doing it.
So how many sheepdogs have you trained?
Well, I wouldn't like
Give me
to
a
say.
rough number.
Sort of half a dozen a year, you know, each year, yeah.
And you
yeah.
love it?
Yes. I get them from little puppies
Oh.
and then train them
Then-
through, you know.
and then train
and
them.
some I sell, and some I keep.
Right,
you know.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at that. He's ready for those
Yes,
sheep.
there he is.
Oh my.
Tag, that'll
Look
do.
at-
Come on, tag. Come on, boy. Come on.
Okay, so
Stay there,
I
stay
know
there
he's
now.
desperate. Like it's a
Stay there,
standoff. So
yes.
can you just the tradition of sort of sheepdogs and herding and again in this landscape where we are in Cumbria, just a little bit about that. I mean, there's farming everywhere.
Yeah,
yes?
there is, and they need good dogs up on the fells.
Right.
But that is kind of a different type of dog, you know. There's a breed of dogs that's really good for the fell, and
Right.
they're more opener than these dogs. They get
Okay.
up the rough stone and that
Right.
sort of stuff, you know.
Okay.
These are more for inland and trial, and they will do both, but
Right.
there is a type that like the fell better, you know, the hills. And,
Yes.
Yes.
Can you just tell me what type of dog this is, though?
Well, he's
are-
just the border collie, and,
He's a border collie.
yeah, and you know the bred. These are bred for more on the in-by
Right.
land, you know, smaller areas and
Yes.
more commands. I think the hill dog thinks
Right.
for himself more. You know, he gets to know.
And
the
what
area,
breed?
you know.
What breed is the hill dog?
Well, just the border collie,
Oh, it
but
is
a
still border
different type.
collie?
Yes, yeah, but a different type. You know.
Okay. And the sheep's relationship with the sheepdog, with Tag, do they like the dog or no?
Well, they do, and the more you work a dog on the sheep, and the quieter the sheep get.
yeah, there
you
we
know,
go.
there
Okay,
it
now it's
goes.
happening. So now we've got to get the sheep in the pen. Is
Yeah,
that right?
Yeah.
So it looks like he's just doing it without
Oh
you
yeah.
even commanding.
Yeah.
So they're going to just
He
come
knows.
into the pen.
He knows. A lot of them will go out on the outrun
Look at
and
this.
fetch the sheep back to me without me speaking.
No, he's just done that.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And that's natural ability, balance. That's balancing the sheep
Look at.
back to me. Oh yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah,
do any
no,
whistles or any
no,
aways or any come-bys?
No.
What? Wait, how did that just happen? All right,
Yeah.
and I'm going to try.
Yes.
Okay. Oh dear. So what do I need to know?
Well, I'll just sort it.
I'm just going to follow exactly
Yeah,
what you do.
yeah. The way's right,
Okay.
and
Oh,
we set the dog off. You say away,
Okay.
and if we go left, it's
Okay.
come by.
Left has come by.
Yeah.
Way, right.
And,
left
and if
come
they,
by.
to slow them down, just stand,
Stand.
just like stand,
Okay.
just there.
Okay. This is
So
exciting.
I'll push the sheep. I'll take the sheep down. And
Okay, here we go. I'm going to pay attention.
Way. Stand. Tag! That'll do! Tag!
My goodness.
Right, Julie.
Okay.
We'll go to the front.
And how loud should I project?
Well, just
Just to,
stand there, Tag. Stand there.
okay.
Stand there.
Okay. Come by. Come by.
And then when you come out, stand.
Stand. Stand. Stand. More stand.
Again.
Stand. That's good. It's looking good. More. Stand.
Yeah.
Stand.
Come by.
Come by.
Stand.
Stand.
Stand again.
Stand. Stand.
Steady.
Steady. Steady.
Walk. Steady.
Steady.
Way. Stand.
Stand.
Put your stick out now, Jill.
Okay.
Steady.
Steady. Steady.
Come away. Up.
Steady. Steady. Steady.
Come.
Come by. Now what?
Come by, lad.
Come by.
Come by.
Come by.
Just walk round towards him, Julie.
Towards
Walk to
Tag?
the dog.
towards Tag.
Yeah, go around that shape. Keep stepping round. Wait, stand.
Stand.
Go round to the dog again, Julie. Go round. Go round. Stand.
Stand.
Get up. Up. Go forward, Julie. Stand.
Stand.
Go on, Julie. Walk forward.
Stand.
Walk forward. Keep walking forward. Stand.
Stand.
Stand there.
Stand.
Tag. Stand there.
Stand.
That's good, Julie.
Did I technically do it?
That's it. You've got it.
I've got it.
Tag. Tag. Come on. Tag. That'll do.
Look at him.
Give him a pat now. Tag. Tag. Come on. Give. You've got them, Julie.
I've got him now.
Yeah.
I've done it. I got a clap over there from Peter.
Oh, that should be good. The dog's standing.
Look at that. Oh my
He worked great for you, Julie.
That's amazing.
Because he backed the sheep in and that is good.
Right, okay.
Come on, tag, that'll do. Come on, boy. It isn't every dog that'll face up to the sheep, you know,
Right,
like
tag's
that.
good. Thanks, Dennis. That's just brilliant.
Hello, dear viewers. Are you passionate about history and stately homes as much as I am? Then sign up for the American Viscountess newsletter. Here you'll get exclusive insider stories from my latest visits to castles, manors, and stately homes, and stay updated on all the exciting projects at Mapperton. You'll also get access to all of my blogs, like the recent Legendary Balls of British High Society. So don't miss out, subscribe today, and join our wonderful community of heritage enthusiasts. The Frost-Pennington family have been wedded to this beautiful Cumbrian landscape for generations. Back at the castle, in the library, I sat down with Iona, Peter, and Ewan to hear more about the origins of Muncaster, its more recent history, and plans for the future. First of all, let me start off by saying thank you for welcoming me into this magnificent castle, and remind me, how old is the castle?
Lots of debate.
Well, the family have been here for at least 800 years, and pretty sure there's a fortification around that time. In fact, we think the castle is built on a Roman foundation, so there's been something here for a very long time, but certainly it was built probably around 1300, the early 1300s.
1300.
But then it's been built onto and built onto.
Yeah, I know.
And they forgot to stop.
Yeah, that's okay. They always are adapting and adapting.
Well, every generation wants to do their own conservatory.
That's exactly
or
right. I know, and I can't wait
their
to
spin.
talk
The bit
about
you were staying in is the oldest bit, that dates from around
13th century. Fantastic.
And you can tell because the walls are just so thick, even
Yeah.
though it's the 4th floor. You're staying on the top, Ron. You guys have gone for the proper Rapunzel room.
Right. We wouldn't expect anything less. We wanted that too,
Yeah,
but
the
I don't
walls
have
even
long
on
hair.
the 4th floor are 8 foot thick, just to keep the Scots out.
Wow. So that's really why it was built, really, to keep...
Yeah, you're in the Badlands now. This is the borderlands between where two kingdoms meet, England and Scotland.
Yes.
The debatable lands. It's where blackmail and terms like that come from. As there was all sorts of shenanigans going on. Perhaps there still are.
Right. I suspect there are. And of course, this was a perfect spot to defend. I mean, and you're close to the sea. It's so quiet. You can't hear a car. You can't hear a plane. You can't hear a train. It's remote and a great spot to defend. So, they were... Your ancestors were clever.
Yeah, it's the one place where the mountains tumble into the sea, so it's a very strategic point.
Yeah.
But also rich in minerals, and even though it's quiet now, it used to effectively be the highway for the West Coast just here, and the river below the castle was the main crossing point, or the main pinch point, which was a hard place to cross because it's a big river, and the castle watched over the ford, the tidal estuary. So if you had this power, then you had power over the local area.
Right.
I don't know if it's true, but Ravenglass is reputed to be the second port to Chester on this coast. Whether that was actually true or
In
not.
Roman times.
In the Roman times.
Yeah.
Okay. And I
Not lately.
No, and I need to get
I
to
think
Ravenglass. I've heard it's
village of
beautiful.
300 people.
Right.
think not
And
for
it's
18.
perched on the sea. Is that right?
I learnt this week that it had well over 2,000 Romans living there in Ravenglass, and it had loads of works. There was, as Dad highlights, a cavalryman from Syria who settled in this area and married a local. But there was, a battalion, a big Roman fort just a mile away from here.
Okay.
So it was very cosmopolitan in Roman times. It's
Yeah.
gone to be a bit of a sleepy backwater since then.
Well, I think but let's talk about that.
Let's
You're
make it a centre.
Yeah,
It's now the
exactly.
centre.
Well, it's
You're
the
sort
centre of our
This is
universe.
Dad's.
Exactly. You're rejuvenating this area with what the three of you have done over the past how many years? So I'm going to start, Iona and Peter, with you. Tell me a little bit about when you arrived here, when you took over, how that all happened, what it was like. And you raised your family here as well, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's a lot of questions I just asked you. So, I'm sorry.
I was brought up on a farm in Dumfriesshire, so just across, and we used to spend all our summer holidays down with our grandparents here, and there used to be 10 cousins, so it used to be fairly mad.
Right,
I think
and fun.
Oh, absolutely. But I think everybody working here used to dread the summer holidays.
Iona was the naughtiest.
Not necessarily. And we always used to go to the beach just about every day.
Right, amazing.
And so we had a brilliant time running around all over the place, and probably being a pain in the neck, actually.
Yeah. So you've just got really fun memories of in your childhood coming here.
Yeah.
And then when did you take the reins?
So then my parents took over from my grandparents in 1980.
Okay.
And I went off to Australia for 2 years, and then came back and started taking over in sort of 1982.
Okay.
And
so quite
then,
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my father was in Scotland a lot, and so I gradually took over.
Right.
And
you knew you would be the one taking over. Did you kind of know that growing up or later on in life?
I was the one who didn't step back quick enough.
Right.
I'm number 3.
Oh, right. Okay.
I've got 3 sisters.
Right.
And I'm the third one.
And you're the third one.
And so I just didn't step back quick enough.
Right. Right. And so it landed on your lap, and that was it.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I've never gone away again.
Right.
So,
And in 82, when you started to sort of look at this place and think, okay, this has landed on my lap, I'm now the one who needs to make a success of this. What was the castle at that time? Was it open to the public? Because, of course, we have, homes started to open up to the public, we know, in the 50s in order to help,
That's
feed
right.
that cost of repairing the roof or the stonework or the lead windows, what it might be.
I think it was really in the 60s they started opening in a very small way. But what my grandmother did was she had a sort of mini zoo, which at that time was a lot of historic houses
Right.
had. And what happened was sounds a bit strange now, but Harrods used to have a pet shop. And she walked into Harrods and she saw this little bear in a tiny little cage, and it had rubbed its shoulder, and she felt sorry for it, so she bought it.
Right.
And she felt sorry for it again, bought it a mate. It was called Winnie, and she bought Rupert. And then they did breed quite a lot, and then somebody gave us some more bears.
So bears,
Bears, yeah.
bears.
Yeah, proper bears.
Himalayan moon bears.
You have proper bears here. Mm-hmm. And was that an attraction for people to come in? Was that the point?
Yes, it was. It was. They had a whole lot of a bird garden, so they had flamingos.
Okay.
And, various
Cirrus
different
cranes
things, and
Storks.
and deer and all sorts of things.
Wallabies.
Right. So the public started to come.
Yeah, the public came in at that stage.
Right.
And it was, a lot of historic houses did do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
We didn't have any lands or anything a bit like
No,
that.
but you had some sort of zoo, if you like.
Yes.
So so you're married, you've taken over Muncaster as far as managing it.
And Peter's continuing to be a vet.
But, okay.
Yep. And then I had Ewan. We
Right.
got married in 1988.
Okay.
And then I had Ewan in 1990. And then Fraser in 1991. And that was getting a bit too much to run the place on my own
Right.
with 2 babies.
Yes. Well,
And then we had Isla.
and then you had Isla, so you've had 3. And you all grew up here. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Childhood.
the best time was when we didn't live in the castle. And so to the age of 7, we lived in a house down the road.
Okay.
And that was awesome because there was a bit more work-life separation.
Yes.
The castle was
And then-
falling to bits. That's
And
why.
the castle just wasn't child-friendly because there were, over 100 buckets collecting water everywhere.
Right.
And it didn't look like this. So we were brought up in a nearby house and we had complete freedom then. And then we were brought to the castle, the spooky castle. At the age of 7, our parents ran off to work every second.
Do you remember literally when there were leaks, putting buckets?
Well, we were particularly small, so
Right.
we could get to places where Mum and Dad couldn't. So I remember crawling into places to be like,
It's like cleaning the chimneys, you know.
Can you put a bucket in there? Is there any drips in there? So I do remember like us crawling around
Finding.
as kids up in the attics.
I found a leak. Give me a
You
bucket.
don't know the life of living in a castle.
Very glamorous.
And
Cold. Was it cold? Did you remember?
really cold and really scary. So for us, even though I was 7 when I moved here, there was no way that I was going to have my own bedroom. I 100% wanted to be in the same bedroom as my brother and sister.
Yeah.
And we were all on the same page about that. What my
Right.
brother was 6
Until
and
about
my sister
18.
was 5. More like 19. But, and so we were all terrified because we would come here because our grandparents lived here when we were little. So I do remember occasionally being left, but we would be, in a different room. Whereas coming here for
You
the
were
first
here
time,
all day.
apparently all day, passed around literally every staff member. Like as in, it was particularly awkward now being the boss in theory, and being the boss of people who have literally had me in their hands,
Right.
like looking after me since
Making
the age of 0.
Oh my
and now
goodness.
I'm their boss.
So fast forward, I think, to, again, you've taken it over, you've got young children, you're here, times are moving on, and you're thinking, okay, I mean, because this is a big castle, this is a big fortress. What were some of the difficulties working out a way to make this commercially viable? Because the zoo, it sounds like, was sort of done.
Well,
what were you thinking
It was,
creatively?
the zoo was costing a lot.
Yeah.
And everything was costing a huge amount. A lot of land and everything anything that brought an income had been sold off, really.
Right, yes.
Which was a bit of an issue, really. And so it was really trying to stop the outgoings going out and to try and increase the number of visitors and how we'd get more money in.
But the zoo didn't vanish. We evolved the zoo to being fairly mishmash, to specialising, and we developed an owl centre. So it had always primarily been a bird garden with some mammals besides. So we rehomed to various other zoos the mammalian collection.
Yes.
And we set up the world's first dedicated owl centre, and we just had owls, and that was very popular. Became even more so when Harry Potter hit the screens.
Of course.
Because owls were often seen as birds of ill omen and creatures of the night. And we further developed that in 2015 to adding more birds of prey to being the Hawk and Owl Centre. And that has been, as you'll see later, the core of a lot of, and very much conservation based and not just having animals here to entertain people. We've always been conservation based, but we had a definite change of emphasis in the early 90s to go or late 80s to go conservation based, and we're continuing with that now. And we had to sort the castle out, and Ian did an absolutely brilliant job we needed to re-roof the castle.
Right.
And we managed to just roll up our sleeves, and with Iona leading from the front with her parents, being prepared to do anything, and then we managed to raise some funds and some grants, and had to sell some of the family silver
To re-roof
to
it.
nail our colour to the mast, say we are here and we are going to make a go of this. And people came on board and helped us out.
And the
staff
roof
have
is
been amazing.
it's what we all talk about. You know, if you don't have a good roof in place, you don't have a castle. Yes.
We got a structural report done, I suppose, in the 90s.
In the mid-90s.
Mid-90s, which said if you do nothing, it'll be unlivable in
2 years.
2 years.
And a ruin in 10.
And a ruin in, yeah.
Right.
That was really we knew we just couldn't go on. We knew we had to, it was death or glory. We had to stop fiddling around and nail our colours to mast, say we are going to make a go of this, we're going to raise money, we're going to do this and do it properly, rather than make, do and mend. And so in the late 90s, we had what we called the Millennium Project, and we managed to re-roof the castle, add in, more modern facilities and a basic heating system.
And what's the material on the roof? I haven't yet seen
It's
it.
lead
It
and
is lead.
slate.
Okay,
It has to
that's
be,
good,
a
yeah.
grade 1 listed
Lead
building, as
Yeah,
you
lead.
know, and it has to be done
Wow.
in traditional
Yeah,
materials.
Great expense there.
And we wanted to make the three, we were going sensitive, sustainable and beneficial. So whatever we did had to be beneficial to modern day society. People needed to want to buy into it. It had to be sensitive to the surroundings, the landscape and the buildings and the history. And it had to be sustainable. Ideally, we want to be able to look after ourselves.
Of course.
And ploughing any income back into the place to help it grow stronger and be here for future generations of visitors to enjoy, not necessarily the family, because it's a fabulous, beautiful place, and we love sharing it with people. But we've got to make money somehow. So it's getting that balance right between opening our gates and providing something that people want to buy, if you like, and being part of the community, because these places have always been core to the community, and this was originally to protect the community from rampaging Scots.
Exactly.
And it was emphasised to us, the main thing you have to do is employ people. That's the main benefit. And we're very pleased that we've grown the number of people that work with us to probably the most has ever been here.
Yeah, amazing.
But you do, well, you'll know, you get a sort of thing where it owns you, you don't own it.
Exactly right. So you're living where you work.
Yeah.
So you made that decision, right? We have got to make sure that this is preserved. We're going to do it.
We're going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
Quite
gonna do it.
determined,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, fantastic. So I'm going to shift a little bit to Ewan now. So Ewan kind of comes of age and goes off to Edinburgh, Cambridge, America.
I mean, I do think all along I've thought it was really important that all the children went away and
Made their own lives.
Yes.
Right.
And learnt about other things, because there's no point, being here the whole time and just
No.
having our views and everything.
Right.
Because then you can't move on.
Right.
Even if it's hard work moving on.
But did you feel that Ewan growing up, did you feel that this was something that you wanted to take over, or has it just been a recent revelation?
It wasn't necessarily going to be Ewan.
Right, so that was going to be a question. I wasn't sure I could ask that, but I am asking that now if you've prefaced that, because of course you're the third daughter.
Yeah.
So you don't have primogeniture.
No.
Right, so how did that work?
So
Yeah, that's...
it wasn't necessarily going to be Ewan, but it was a discussion between all three of them.
Right.
And
Okay.
so Ewan, Fraser and Isla discussed it and said, well, you can do it.
Right.
Don't make
Don't
a hash,
make a mess of it.
because we're right here and we're watching.
Yeah, I think it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think externally people assume, because I'm the oldest,
Yeah.
that I'm going to take over. And so you get this weird mix as someone like in the family, we would never be like, oh, well, it's obviously going to be you. But then on the outside, you get this weird kind of people treat you as if it's going to be you.
Yeah, due to primogeniture, I think people make that
People
assumption.
just assume, and I'm the best looking and like the most sophisticated, and like just naturally kind of.
Your siblings are going to love watching this back.
Well, they know it. It's a fact. I mean, it's not even disputed these days. Like getting that separation of you, finding out who you are versus like having the castle define you is quite a challenge. And yeah, for me, that liberating moment at age 18, going away from here and
Escaping.
not telling anyone that I live in a
Exactly.
castle was like awesome. I mean, my career very much took me on the route of energy and low carbon energy and science and those sorts of things. But it kind of, I had about 15 years away from the castle where my identity was, like, as in my colleagues, when I told them in San Francisco that I had to go home I didn't
Run a
have to
castle?
go home. I was going home, and my next career move, like, they were genuinely shocked because half of them like had worked with me for years, but didn't know that I lived in a
brilliant.
castle,
Yeah.
which is just like
Nice.
Which is really weird for me now, because I've now had 2 years where I've got to flip because my entire job is talking about the castle. So I now, like, I kind of hate myself sometimes because I now have to be like, hi, yeah, I'm Ewan Frost-Pennington from Muncaster Castle.
Castle.
Whereas the Ewan before would have died.
You get pigeonholed as soon as someone thinks
yeah.
you live in the castle.
Yeah, and then
so
there's
it's-
all these sort of assumptions that are being
Yeah.
sort of created within the mind of the person you're speaking to.
But then
as
it's
soon as they hear that.
it's really weird because it is like your job and your like as in, I'm honoured to live in the castle. Like, Mum and Dad did definitely not tied my hands and said, right, you're coming back to help. It was actually my little sister that phoned me up and was like, Mum and Dad are struggling, you need to get back there now. Like, they are getting old, Ewan. They are getting really old. It's time.
She's in trouble.
Yeah, because
And so she was like, yeah.
So you come back here, and now you've got Castle attached to your last name. You're sort of Ewan Frost-Pennington at Muncaster Castle. That is your title. But you then decided to really, with your education, and presumably the education that you did all about sustainability, environment, you knew that there was something you wanted to apply from that education to here at the castle. Is that correct? And tell me a little bit about that.
And so I think the real reason I came back ultimately, there's a whole host of reasons, family, etc. But one thing was I'd kind of got to the point in my career where I was like, I'm like getting higher up in a company. I was a consultant. I've got really good clients. They're really big, well-known companies. But quite often things would take forever to get done, and because you're a small cog in a big thing. Whereas I'd phone up and say, look, Mum, ground source heat pump's the way to go because I've been doing that on one of my projects. It makes a lot of sense. We're doing it at the castle. We should do it. And she's just like, sure, why not? And within 6 months, it's done. We've installed it. We've been through the agility of we've kind of got a big fancy company to come and tell us how to do it. And they gave us a figure we could never afford. And then we've been like, how can we do it differently? Brought on board our local plumber, brought on board our electrician, kind of been agile with it, really thought about it, and within 6 months it's done. And I think that's the thing about Muncaster, because we've had such a finite resources in the past and we've had to move so quickly to keep it going, and that it's been Mum and Dad working 7 days a week for the last 30, 40 years. It's just kind of in the instinct that if you make a decision, you do it and you do it quick, and you have to move quickly, because otherwise, as you say, you might lose the roof or something big's going to happen, and you have to do everything full bore.
You keep it as local as possible.
And keep it as local as possible. Jobs.
Yeah.
And so you came in, you did ground source heating, but you've also, that is what you're looking at. You're looking at how can I make my castle, and I'm going to say this, but net zero really is. And it's a lovely term, and I know it sometimes gets used very loosely, but really that was one of your goals. Is that right?
I mean, one of the things it's even more than that, net positive, which is so not only are we having no impact on the natural environment,
you're putting back into
we're
the grid.
Contributing in a positive way to the area in terms of environmental nature, etc. Which I know you're on the same thinking. So, so that really excited me that you could get something done.
Yes.
And it's definitely been like that. When I came back, I was hoping to do 1 to 2 days a week at Muncaster. And then,
Your dad's laughing, Peter.
God.
Well, it's very similar to Ewan's experience, because I'm a vet, and I was, in those days, I was working 1 in 2. So most of the time I was on duty, and every second night of every second weekend. I couldn't understand when I married Iona just how all-encompassing it was. And you're on a 1-in-1 here, and it's extraordinary. And as you've probably noticed, Ewan and I do most of the talking, but it's a very matriarchal society. Iona does most of the work. She just gets on with it. And that was the same with her mother and her father. Her father would ponce around and do lots of talking. Her mother was the core of the place, and she was one of 4 daughters. It was her castle, and she did most of the work. And the blokes just talk about it. So Iona just gets on and does stuff. And we're a very good partnership, even though we bicker all the time. Because
brilliant. That's what makes the partnership even stronger.
She'll go and do the work, and I'll talk about it.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this. You're running it kind of together, right? How's that relationship? Because Ewan is this new generation that's coming in, the next gen, as we like to call it through historic houses, the next gen coming in full of ideas, and also, again, thinking about the future, right? what can I do to preserve this for future generations? How can I get the visitor numbers up? How can I do events? And then, of course, you've been here running it for 30, 40 years, and you're thinking, oh gosh, what is it going to cost?
This young whippersnapper.
Is he going to be able to do it? How is it going to work? Is it financially going to make sense? So have you had a little bit of that sort of back and forth when he comes to you with a sausage festival idea? Is that your idea or no?
It was that. Well, Mum and Dad's actually, and then I just brought it back to life. They killed the sausage. I brought it back to life because it was too good to ruin.
And now you've grown it, and you must be quite pleased with that.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's that circle of life thing, and I see you and being very similar to when I was given the opportunity to come here and work with Iona, trying to explain to my parents-in-law that we were going to have a Fool's Festival, and I think they wanted opera and Shakespeare and things like that.
Yeah.
We were going, and we just came up with wacky ideas, and Ewan's doing exactly the same, and reinventing things and coming up with totally new ideas, but also embellishing what we've done in the past. So taking something like Halloween and making it bigger and better.
Right.
But it's a very productive process. It's very difficult at times because it's family.
Yes,
But family
exactly.
pull together, and
Yeah.
we fight like cat and dogs and argue things stuff. But it's great having, shall we say, a benign dictator who our hearts are all set on the place. No, we're not very rude.
She's 100% a dictator.
But
I don't know how benign she is sometimes.
But we don't have to go through committee after committee.
That's exactly right.
As Ewan said, it's brilliant because if we come up with a harebrained idea, we might get through, but sometimes we might go, oh, yes.
Yeah.
I think my first meeting where Iona, as I call her in business, but Mum, and I had a meeting where we disagreed strongly on something. It was like...
Were plates being thrown.
I was
smashed
like, this
against the wall.
lady's never going to talk to me ever again. Like, she hates my guts. And tell you what, I hate her guts. Like, she's so wrong. But the reality was, it's just so much more raw. Like,
Yes.
as in, of course, in my previous job, we would have disagreements, but it would be far more civil. It'd be like, no, I think that we should do it this way. And the other person would. Whereas, like, the great thing about Mum is, like, she does dust off that meeting. He was so wrong, the idiot.
Right.
And then she'd be like, do you want scrambled eggs? Like, do you want hot chocolate, Ewan? I find that hard because I go from being like the general manager of Muncaster Castle to being like a 14-year-old. Oh yeah, Mum, please. No, I'm not going to do the dishes. Dad, like I did them last week, and it's just like the hardest, like mind jolt to get yourself into.
It's so true.
Like,
It's difficult when you'll cut to that level where you're going, no, you can't do that. It's not going to work. And then you got to stop and go.
It's wonderful to see this dynamic. So I want to end with just one last question, and I don't know how contentious this question will be, but
Who's in charge?
But when you look at Muncaster right now and where it's going, where do you want to see it in the next? I'm just going to do 10 years from now. You know, I'm not going to go that crazy long term, but just give me 10 years. Where are you hoping it will? What will it look like? What are you hoping more of, or maybe less of?
Me or?
No, it'll have to be you.
Well, I mean, for me, it's all
Peter's
like
retired, and
I'm hoping to not have to put so much blood, sweat and tears into Muncaster on a daily basis that we currently have to do as a family. Like the dependency, like it's a family subsidy essentially that keeps this place going. And that's Mum and Dad having sacrificed weekends, evenings, any form of social life really for the last 30 years. And I don't want to be in that position. So I'm all about empowering the rest of the team to not only have the responsibility but also the opportunities. And at the moment we can be, as a family, can be quite a bottleneck for things because we're the only ones that can get things done. And what I'm passionate about is building that that balance between pure family does literally everything.
Yes.
But then you don't want to go so big that it becomes heartless and it's not a family organisation.
Exactly.
And getting that balance right and having a healthy, basically, community around it that means that it is sustainable and we're not worried that if I'm ill or Mum's ill or whoever's ill that the place is really under threat. We've got a far bigger, stronger community that thrives and loves and celebrates this place. accordingly.
That was a very long answer from you, and I would say...
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, it's
In 10 years' time, I'd like these are living places where honouring the past but looking to the future, and for them to be loved, lived in and cherished. That's what we want to see, hale and hearty and being used and being enjoyed by many people, not just, where Iwan has a very good term of saying, we don't own Muncaster, Muncaster owns us. And Ewan's quite right, we're going to shuffle off before so long, but the tradition goes on, and I think we'll now be part of the tradition. But these places are always built for the new technology and new ideas, new culture, new arts, new ways of looking at life, and often they've become kind of fossilised. And Ewan is obviously full of energy, full of life, and he'll take it into the future with us, supporting him and hopefully slipping off into quiet retirement.
I'm so glad you were even more concise than me, Dad. Dad and I are renowned for being really good and concise and not verbose at all.
No,
Right,
absolutely.
brilliant.
Well, I'm very verbose.
No, fantastic. Thank you. This has been a real highlight of mine, just sitting, not just as a historic house owner myself, but just the camaraderie and the energy between the three of you. And there's a few other adjectives I could use as well, but I'll hold off.
That'd be a good idea.
The family dynamic and energy is brilliant. And with Ewan keen to build on his parents' legacy at Muncaster, we ventured to the upper floors of the castle, where visitors might one day be able to experience life behind the scenes.
So
I love attics, Ewan. Like, they're my favorite part of any historic house, honestly. And this is now even more favorite because I can see you have archive boxes everywhere. I mean, I know it's not technically your archive room. I've already seen that. But this is a wonderful space up here.
this is, so we're in the female servant quarter wing.
Okay.
But then there is an entire tower, the male servants' quarters, and that's more derelict than this, but that's 4 floors of empty rooms, or not empty. They're full of what I call sorting debt.
Right.
Debt that, like, if our family was to have a full-time job sorting through the stuff, it would probably take 2 or 3 of us a year to decide what we chuck or keep. But I'm wanting to start chipping away at it, especially while the generation above is still like engaged. Like Mum and Dad, I think would really help accelerate that, and even my aunties. But yes, so there's lots of work to be done on them. And the thing is, it's not even the attic, because the attic's the floor above, right? Where we're starting to, we've just insulated it and starting to use that for storage too. So we've got
because you have, let's put this, you've got like what 900 years of storage, right?
Yeah. And it's also chaotic because the family used to have lots of estates and this is the last one. It's also combination of quick sell that and we'll sell loads of that stuff, and we need to, but actually we're really sentimental about this or that and we really want to keep that, and then suddenly that comes here. And so it's the collection, it's a bizarre collection. Like, as you can see, Water Estate.
Yes.
It's not Muncaster Estate, but that's, for example, one thing. And then you've got like Lord Muncaster's combined with the Ramsdens, and you know what families are like, but
add
the kind of mega onto it. You have the same.
And it's just all sort of they sort of pile up, and next thing you know, you're like, wait, is this our branch of Montague or is it the other branch of Montague?
Yeah, exactly. And then suddenly, and I guess it's why it's sorting debt, because a lot of it is junk. A lot of it is worthless or broken and should be thrown out. But then you don't know the sentimental context of it, like last Lord Muncaster's military hat and how it has a big hole in. We just always assumed that was a moth hole, but then we found a diary entry that's about how he fought in the Crimea and he stuck his head up and the bullet went through the hat. And so that suddenly it would have looked like junk, but actually in the context, that's an amazing part of history, that when you find the diary, you put the two together and you can see completely why someone kept that.
Exactly.
And so you can't just be rash and say, okay, let's send that to auction, because it could be a fundamentally important story of the house.
Yeah, because that story you just told right now, I mean, that's interesting. And people, if they saw that even out on display.
But then it's like, the amount of connections, and even though we were slowly growing our curation capability, there's only a small number of them, and the amount of stuff to go through.
And the amount of hours that you have in a day, in a month, in a year.
And then it's also, I think, the question of what do you do with these rooms?
Yeah, I mean, you have sort of the state rooms, or, the more elegant rooms that the public come in and see. But of course, I am the public. And these, to be honest, these rooms, I'd be interested in seeing as well, even if they looked like this. I'm just thinking, is that something you're thinking about doing, like for an extra $5, everybody, you get to go see the female servants wing, and then you get to go to the tower and see the male wing?
Yeah, and I think that appeals. So in the immediate time with like taking it bite size, Dad did actually used to do behind the scenes tours where he dressed as a Victorian butler and showed them what life was like behind the stairs, but that was just touching the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
So the initial plan for me with this corridor is Halloween is our biggest festival.
Yes.
And we've been wondering what to do for the scary night tour, or Scarecaster as we call it. And so we're going to be making these servants' quarters at the top floor a bit into a kind of a scary maze almost, where you can open doors to go in some, but there'll be actors that jump out, and using that, the income from that, as an excuse to actually do some of the sorting of some of these rooms.
Okay.
So that's like step one, doing exactly what you're kind of alluding to, which is let the public into some of these spaces, but in quite a controlled fashion, or a way that's maybe slightly innovative or different. Then step two is, once we've got the rooms maybe a bit clearer of stuff, then we need to actually address the fact that there's issues here, cracking and like we've been doing kind of firefighting, but it needs to be potentially reinstated with a carpet or painted or the like.
Yes.
And then, I mean, I would love to try some different things, because the issue is it's not en suite.
Yeah.
So you can't just, it's not just a hotel.
Is there a bathroom on this floor? Or is it?
Yeah, down a couple of corridors. Not immediate. So potentially we need to do some replumbing.
Right.
Or, because of course when the servants lived here in the 1920s, they would probably go outside. I think even the main family would have bed pans.
Yes, exactly, the chamber pots.
They wouldn't necessarily have toilets. So the ideal would be, you could make it onto en suite, but are we going to modify it too much? Or do we just embrace the fact that they are servants' quarters?
Yes.
And the idea that I kind of like is, do we offer people the opportunity to come and live the life of a servant for a few days? And maybe that's where they pay to come and do that. And then for another group of people, they come and live as the lords and ladies of Muncaster, which just could be quite a fun, I don't know. I like, bizarrely for me, even though I'm brought up in the castle, I would quite like to, and I actually think there's a value in me paying to come and live like a servant for a few days in the castle and see the kind of culture that it develops.
But also, would you have them? Because I'm almost at that point of sign me up, because I would do that, because you could experience it. But then, if I was staying here, I'm just picking your brain here, would I then be able to sort of take on some of the tasks of a servant? So I would be polishing the silver, or whatever, setting the fire, something like that.
Yeah, and that would be the ideal for me. I think what we'd want to do is employ a couple of actors to be like the head butler or the head housekeeper, and then they would then be like, no, Julia, you need to clear this fireplace properly.
Exactly.
Come on, get polishing the silver. This is your schedule for the day.
Yes.
Chop, come on, there's jobs to be done. And make it a bit of fun.
Yes.
But then you get a kind of good idea of what the culture was like and what it actually felt like 150 years ago to live in houses like this.
Yeah.
Because we've literally got the beds that the servants still slept on.
Oh, no way.
This is one of the horsehair single mattresses that would have been typical. And to be honest, we had an entire room of these horsehair mattresses. And then there is actually a room that is an entire room full of the spring beds, like lower cases.
So you have basically a mattress room.
We did. And I don't think the fire team were particularly happy of fire loading to that extent.
Yeah.
And so Dad and I did have fun one day throwing all of the horsehair mattresses out of the window of the top floor to free up the space and comply
Yeah, no, because
better
they
with
are
fire egg.
they're a real fire hazard. And it's such an exciting project to think about, and all of these ideas, I can see them spinning in your head, thinking, wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, this room still continues to cost, right? Because the roof is slowly aging. There's movement of the castle.
Yes.
Like you can see the split
Yeah.
in the fireplace.
Lovely tiles.
Lovely tiles, but it's
you've got
clearly aging at a rate, and it needs money spent on it.
Yeah.
But the only way you can do that is if you get it used and it has a purpose in society and the community, and if you've got people regularly in here, they notice things like that.
Of course.
And then we can address them. Whereas quite often it can be that some of these rooms, no one will go in for months.
Right.
And then suddenly you come in and then, I don't know, there's been a fly invasion, or
we have those too.
or there's a crack, or
there's bats,
or it's got wet and it's suddenly damp
Yes.
Because the roof started leaking.
Yeah, because you can't
Whereas
possibly
if you're
be
using it every day, it feels alive. It's got love going into it. There's new stories being made. There's new narratives, and it's an exciting, dynamic thing. Yeah. I mean, this fireplace, I've never actually noticed just how good it is. But and every room like this has a fireplace.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers. So the servants were running around stoking fires.
How many servants do you think you had sort of at its peak, roughly?
I mean, I would be guessing, but I think it was 40-ish or something like that. So it was a substantial effort, and lots of bedrooms. And the infrastructure of that still exists. So we've still got... Dad and I, when we were installing the insulation in the ceiling upstairs in the actual attic, we were still finding the ropes that connect all the bells, and those bells are still in place for ringing to tell the servants which room to go to or what needs done or whichever, and you can really see those. And it's kind of the novel thing that all that infrastructure, it has literally been frozen in time from 100 years ago, just with some stuff put in these rooms, and then the roof resealed so that it's not got leaks. And so that's the amazing thing, that infrastructure is all still there. So how can we use it? How can we celebrate that in the right way and celebrate that heritage, but make it applicable and accessible to my generation,
absolutely,
or future generations,
or me. I mean, sign me up. Seriously, I can be like the test dummy. I can do a test run. I'll stay in this room. I really like those tiles there, and then just put me to work.
Okay, we're definitely gonna take you up on that. Like, as in, our first return of a servant will be the Viscountess. Like, as in,
I'll do lots of
We're
social
reinstating
media.
it, but Viscountess has turned to the Cinderella, and it'll be perfect. Yeah,
Perfect.
I'll join you.
Okay,
As the family member of the house, and I'll be the servant as well, and then we can.
Okay, should we shake on that? That is a deal.
Okay, deal.
We are doing it.
I can't
and we'll
wait.
film it too.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good.
Brilliant.
Since 1968, when the castle first opened to the public, there have been bird gardens. But over the years, they have expanded, and today, the Hawk and Owl Center is focused on conservation and education.
Sitting here, you've got a Grade 1 listed building, a medieval castle, England's highest mountain beyond, in this incredible flying arena. Here we go.
How many birds in total do you have?
We've got about 30 birds. We have examples of all the different types of bird of prey, and all our birds get out and fly every day. So if they don't want to come back, they don't have to.
Right.
But they love us. So
It's just brilliant.
we opened permanently on 1968, so I had been open a bit before that, but from 1968 we opened every day in the season. They had a mini zoo, but it was mainly a bird garden. And then in 2015 we expanded into more birds of prey and got the eagles and the vulture and things.
Right, okay.
And the great thing also is all our bird staff are so skilled, and the young people living and working here and so passionate about what they do.
Look at this.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, this is where you got to do your decking. by flying them. They keep them fit, they keep them to the right weight, they keep them fit and healthy. So to me it's brilliant. And we've got a wonderful opportunity to educate people. You'll hear when we talk about vultures, everyone loves eagles and owls, but no one likes vultures, so you'll hear it. The most important work we do is the vultures, because they're most endangered.
You're currently looking at a critically endangered species. In fact, of the 23 species of vulture worldwide, 9 are critically endangered, including, of course, the hooded vulture here, and they've seen massive declines in their population. Do not worry, there is work being done to help save our vultures out in the wild, and we do work here at Muncaster as well. Because in the next couple of years, we're hoping our fantastic team of vultures here will be the very start of our breeding programme. But that was our fantastic team of vultures. They did a wonderful job for us today.
That's amazing.
Muncaster is known for its larger-than-life events. Over the years, Peter has taken center stage in the immersive events at the castle. A recent addition to the visitor experience is the medieval-inspired Weapons Hall. And it's where I met a familiar-looking King of Cumberland.
Hail, huzzah!
King of Cumberland. Is that right?
That is correct, my lady. Welcome. Viscountess, I believe.
That's
we
right.
are honoured to have your presence.
I was going to say,
Have you ever...
shouldn't I curtsy to you though? Because technically
Well, you should.
speaking,
Absolutely.
you're the king
You're
and I'm just
with
a
the
lowly
king.
Viscountess.
Well, you're still quite high. Have you ever ventured so far north in your travels?
Never, ever in my life. But what an honor to be here.
Well, thank you
Do you
for...
allow Americans though?
I beg your pardon?
Are Americans allowed?
Where is America? Is it over the water somewhere?
Somewhere.
Have you
Somewhere back there.
travelled far from
Exactly.
some land I've never heard of?
I've come on an airplane.
You're losing me. Anyway, we have a quest for you now you're back in the medieval age, because this is to enhance your skills and talents.
Okay.
And we are training up knights, we need horsemen, we need axe throwers, we need crossbowmen and archers, because I have to defend Cumberland from all who would take it from us. Are you up to your task?
I am, sir.
Well, go
King.
forth and get training, my lady. Off you go.
Can I do that?
Huzzah!
Then things seemed to get even more bizarre.
Okay.
Climb in front of here for it.
Okay. Mr. Plum. Matches my trousers nearly. There we go. Okay. Hold on with my left hand.
Your left hand. Hold the lance in your right hand.
Like this.
Yeah, and then if you couch it, so if you squeeze it in between there.
Okay. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's fast! Woo! How was that?
You got 2 out of 3.
Okay.
The last one, rather than do this stabbing lunge,
Yeah.
it's best once you've cleared the spinning knight, just
Yeah.
hold your lance level
Yeah.
to aim for it rather than going for a thrust.
Here we go. All right. Here we go. Hold on, everybody.
There you go. One. Allez!
Okay, that is 3 out of 3, I believe. I'm gonna pro at this. I should just go back in time and be a jouster. I interrupt this program for a very special announcement. We have lost quite a bit of power here at Muncaster Castle, which means that the dinner that we had planned to film for you tonight in the lovely dining room is still going to happen, but we're going to go back in time and have the dinner like they did during the medieval times, all by candlelight. So let's go feast.
Wow!
Wow.
Ooh!
It's sensational. Oh my gosh, look at that fire. Yeah, it's, stunning.
Please take a seat, everyone. And you unfortunately have got the coldest seat in the room.
That's all right. It's fine that I've got 6 layers on, so it's all good.
That's what I was going to tell you about.
I think we're all served, so will I ask the Viscountess to say grace?
That's teasing.
Phew!
Dad loves to do
I haven't-
test people. My goodness. He doesn't. We don't actually say grace.
Okay. Oh my goodness. My face went red, but luckily there's no lights on in here apart from the candlelight. But I would like to give a toast, if that's okay. I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to Iona, Peter, and Ewan for taking time out of your day, because I know that your days are packed, weekends are tight, holidays probably don't exist. I learned all of that today, and I also understand that myself, running a historic house, it's not like those Downton Abbey days, thank goodness. It's a lot of work, and just spending time with the 3 of you today was just incredibly inspirational, hearing about how you have transformed Muncaster Castle to what we see today, but the exciting plans and trajectory ahead that Ewan has put forward that sometimes might ruffle some feathers, but I think we're all on board. And it's just been a wonderful opportunity for me to see as much as I could see what's going on, and this fantastic house that really is a home, but also not just a home for a family, but for community and the public, and people to come in and share with just your incredible generosity of your time, but also your stories and the future that you're creating. So thank you. Thank you. Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah. My grace would have been a lot shorter. well, can I respond with another quick toast? And this applies to any home. May the roof of your house or your castle never fall in, and may the people inside never fall out.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Feeling that.
We don't need light, do we? It's great.
Quite nice. Are you thinking then possibly you should do this more often? Just sort of pretend that the power's gone out and we have to do it by candlelight.
This isn't pretending, it's saving money.
Murray, don't give away all our secrets.
What an exhilarating and wonderful visit to Muncaster Castle. To dine by candlelight was the perfect ending to my stay, and the weather added to the mystery and atmosphere. Although Peter believes strange happenings in the castle are the work of the spirit of Tom Fool.
He's rarely seen, but we are the home of tomfoolery.
Yeah.
And Thomas Skelton, who was known as Tom the Fool,
Yeah.
lived here many centuries ago. Big character. We still can't pin him down. We got references to him in account books of his coat being bought. The role of the fool was to take the mickey out of those who thought there was something special in authority.
Right.
And his spirit, his mischievous spirit, still pervades the place. And the role of the fool is like the role of the stand-up comic these days, who stands up and slags off politicians and reminds us that we're all only human. If you get puffed up and think you're something special important, he'll bring you down to size.
Right.
And today, as you've experienced, we were having fun with the filming, and
Yeah.
I think, rightly or wrongly, I'm no different from anyone else. I live in a weird place and a very special place, and there I am. As soon as I dressed up as a King of Cumberland, came out to see you, bang, the power went off.
The power went off.
And
it's still off.
And it's still off. And since then, I've been running around trying to look after visitors.
But he was a bit of a
clients.
bad character though, wasn't he?
Oh, Tom.
You've been looking after visitors, you've been looking after a film crew, we've been trying to film, and Thomas has kept that
Tom's
power off.
having his wicked way with
He
us.
is.
And he's done that to us before. If you don't believe in ghosts, it's just coincidence and you're reading it. But so many times
I believe now.
Yeah. And so don't mess with Tom. And if Tom thinks you're doing wrong to the place, there'll be various
So do you
stories
think that that's what it is? Do you think that the film crew came in
And he thought we're messing with the place?
No, I don't think he thought you were messing
And
with the place.
we're gonna
He was getting at
shut it
me
all
because
down?
I was sort of trying, well, I'm important, I should be the king of Cumberland. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, if you just look at
Well, I
these,
obviously now do.
well, if you look at these buildings, the spirit of the people who built, it's not about us, the posh people who live here. It's about the people who created these things, and they've poured their soul into the furniture, the carving, the artworks, and they're still with us in so many ways.